So just get into it. Now, what I like to do right here, like I said, I like to get a couple levels, get into my skill tree a little bit before I go fight Midgemong. And if you go this way, there's a nice little level up loot. You just basically go all the way around. You come up to this boat, you jump down, and you're right back here at the beginning. But you get to kill a lot of Bullymong away. See, there's a sniper rifle at a Bullymong pile, but it's, you know, it's a white. You know, they did take the restriction off, but they didn't take the rarities. You kind of locked into light crappy weapons. Ooh, there is a bullet. There's a badass right there. I did get one. Hold him up while I reload here. Get a couple crits on him. And let him burn himself to death. So like I say, you can get a couple levels here. This is what I like to do. And while I'm going around here, I'll just talk about mods in general. Like I said, if a mod is overpowered, you can like there's a description and it just says, oh, it's a good gun or something, or brings back, like, I know one of the mods adds the clipper instead of the tinderbox, which is a Borderlands 1 gun. But let's say I download that and then, you know, Flint now 100% drops the tinderbox. I think he can. I don't know if he doesn't drop the if he drops his Logan's gun. He doesn't drop the tinderbox, but it's pretty much close to 100%. And say I download the clipper to replace it, and I find, because it's, you know, nostalgia for Borderlands 1, if I find it's overpowered or the mod maker just made it too powerful, just uninstall it. You could just go into your little mod manager, and I'll show that in another video. Somebody had made like a little mod manager. And you just basically uncheck it, and it just resave your you know, your mod patch file, and it basically, next time you load the game, it just removes it. And then some people are like, oh, I don't want to install mods because it'll, you know, I'll lose guns and stuff. You can lose guns with mods if you use a custom gun. The way Borderlands modding works, you can't, like Skyrim, you can just add whatever you want because it has a creation kit to it. In Borderlands, you can't add anything. Everything that's in the game is in the game, and every gun in the game is made, you know, the character models are made, like there's a Jacob's barrel for sniper rifles, there's a Vladov barrel for sniper rifles, and then there's, you know, a Dahl barrel for sniper rifles, a Maliwan barrel for sniper rifles, and those character models exist. You can't actually add anything new character model wise like you can like in Skyrim. You can do new character models and stuff, and then just link it to a texture. All the textures for, like, all the guns are basically, I think, 4 or 5 textures, and then they're just adjusting a few numbers, you know, assigning like what part of the texture you're supposed to use, and then assigning all the colors to certain parts. And then, so basically a Maliwan Sniper, between a Maliwan Sniper, there's no difference in the texture. They all use the same texture. It's just this one's a white, so it's saying use black, orange, and white, you know, of this section of this texture, and then, you know, use these kind of, you know, faded looking colors. It's just a whole bunch of numbers. You can't really add things. I mean, I think you can add textures, but I don't understand how to do it. But the base game only uses a few textures because when this game came out, it had to run on an Xbox 360. It had to run on all hardware of the time. And the Xbox 360 was the lowest common denominator in the whole, you know, PC, PlayStation, because the PlayStation, I think, had a gig of video memory, which is all you really need for 1080p. But the Xbox 360 kind of seemed like they geared it toward 720p and only had 750 megabytes of VRAM, you know, 3/4. So they had to keep this game very light. So they just didn't have a lot of custom textures, and even some legendaries don't even have custom textures. They're just like the Hammer Buster is just a slightly brown, like gold tint Jacobs, sniper rifle. It's not really a true, custom texture, but I think you can add custom textures. But I know, like if you replace a texture, like if you replace Malawan textures with something else, like say make it look like Borderlands, it's going to replace every texture in the game. So if you replace a texture, it kind of does a custom, it makes every gun in the game that uses that texture. So you can't really like just put a lot of custom texture. Now unique guns, like say like the teapot or the volcano or something, some of those guns have custom textures, and you can replace the textures for that. And then since it's a unique gun, like you can't just say replace Malawan snipers. If you replace like you put like some god tier gun that replaces Malawan snipers, all Malawan snipers would be replaced. But if you wanted to just say, well, I don't like the volcano, I never use it, I want to replace with say a god tier, and somebody has made a mod that says replaces the volcano, you can put, you can install that mod, and like if you get a world drop volcano, that gun will be in its place. And if the warrior drops a volcano, he's going to drop that gun, that modded gun. And so the gun will still be a volcano. So if you start up your game and don't forget to run your mods, because you have to start them every time you start the game. You have to start the game and in the lobby run your mods, and then it'll apply all your mods. And if you don't do it, you will have a volcano in your inventory. You'll just have a volcano in your inventory, no big deal, and you'll know, oh, I forgot to run my mods. Exit back out to the lobby, run all your mods again, and your volcano will now be that that thing. It might have a custom texture on it with all the properties of whatever that god tier Malawan sniper is. But basically you can't add guns to the game. If you want another custom gun, it has to replace one that's already in the game. And if you don't want to replace like say an infinity weapon, it makes makes all anarchist infinities. Well, you would be replacing anarchists basically. You would just be putting the infinity gimmick on all anarchists, and every anarchist would have that. But if you just said, well, I don't like the infinity, I want to replace it with another gun, it could be of a different manufacturer, but basically the infinity is a placeholder. You're telling the game, if I get an infinity, make it this, and it'll show up in game as something else. So a lot of people like stray away from mods because they're like, oh, I'll lose my gun. And a lot of mods do have like replaces like the tricorta, or replaces the landscaper, or replaces the this, and it since that gun has a custom texture, it's a custom mission reward. The gun you replace it with will take its place. Now, unless a gun is say like a teapot is elemental lock. If somebody replaces, say, a custom gun or unlocks the teapot's elemental effect, when you go get a teapot, you might get a fire teapot. Well, if you get a fire teapot, if you have that in your game save, it might delete it, or you might just, if you don't run your mods, just have a corrosive one. I know there's a mod that changes the law to a slag Jacobs pistol, which, like, with the stinkpot being a corrosive Jacobs pistol, the greed being a fire, the only thing, if you run an allegiance run, you're probably going to start to not be able to play in the OP levels because you're not going to have slag. And so he modded the law to be a slag. Now, I'm not sure if that mod, like, if you have a slag, it'll delete your normal law. But I know there's a mod that does elemental Jacobs, and if you find elemental Jacobs drops in your game, I think it kind of does delete your guns. So you gotta be still while I kill him.
Crap, I'm out of ammo.
So
That calmed him down some.
if you just read the mod description, like, what is it replacing? What does it do? And a lot of times just downloading the mod into your folder, your game folder for Borderlands 2, doesn't automatically run it like it does in Skyrim. So there's no use in downloading it and then opening it up with the little tool. Dang, I got a blue shield. And see, I got a blue shield and I found one better. So, I mean, I don't... You know, a lot of people cry about, oh, it's OP, it makes the game too easy. I'm finding green shields that I would have naturally found anyway. I just got to use... You know, I got a shield before I was supposed to. I got a blue before I was supposed to. But then I found a green that would have naturally been, that's naturally better anyway. So I don't think that's a valid criticism because, yeah, if I'm downloading all these OP guns, replacing guns in the game that are kind of useless, should I say, not useful. I actually don't want to replace any useful guns. But like, if you have like, mods could be as simple as, like, I've been playing with the community patch. Like I said, I started like 48 different characters, all, you know, all 6 characters and all the allegiances. And so that's 48 different characters with the community patch. And I wouldn't want to, like, I'll put a link in the description of the to the guy who made its video on like how to install it. It's kind of outdated, and I'll probably have to do like I followed a lot of outdated on how to install all this stuff videos, and matter of fact, some of the old outdated ones that are on people's websites are kind of scary. They kind of like, oh, you got to download a third-party text editor program, and you got to do this, and and it kind of actually scared me away from doing it. But then I kind of did it, and I probably did it the long way, the hard way, using some of these other videos, and I think it would scare a lot of people away. And it's really not that hard. You really have to download a couple of items. Let's see, you have to download the little... it's called a filter tool. It's kind of like the mod manager for your mods. And then it does all the modding to the game. Everything you have to do to the game that would normally be scary. It modifies your INI so you can get the console command up so you can actually run mods. It edits your, I think it's a hex file or something. So I don't even know why you have to do that. I don't even remember why you have to do it, but it seems pretty scary having to download a hex editor and doing this. And then I think one of the videos like, oh, if you mess this up, you could really screw up your game. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to do that. Well, this tool does that for you. The only thing you really have to download is if it runs on Java. So if you don't have Java on your computer, I know Google Chrome, for security reasons, kind of got rid of Java, so a lot of people don't really need Java anymore. But Java's not something I really am opposed to having on my computer, because you just don't give it any access to anything except for Borderlands, you know. And it's basically just to run that filter tool. And I don't even think it needs it for the game to run. I think it just needs it to run a little script when you... I am a terrible shot today. I'm hitting the edge of the collision. I'm not getting him. I'm just gonna have to lift his little butt up. Oh, didn't time it right. You know, the whole text edit thing, it's something to do with, you know, when you get a digital copy to the game, you know, even if you buy a retail copy, it's still basically a digital code that's assigned to you, so nobody could pirate it or something. So the mods that had to be done to the game couldn't be just put it up on a website to where you could download it. You have to like do some mods, but then put your custom like serial number in or something, and there was no way to make it to where you could just, he could download a file and then you could just swap out a file, because it had to be keyed to you. And it seems pretty scary to get in there and like you have to know hexadecimal and you have to know like these custom, like all this stuff, and it's, I really don't understand it. And if I had to do it that way, I probably would have never modded my game, because the mods came out like way after I stopped playing the game, and then when I got the itching to play it again, you know, even people who creating the mods, if you go on the mod page, they're like, you know, 6-9 months they haven't created any new mods. I mean, there's still people active. I go in there every couple of days and check to see if anybody changed anything or added any new mods. But I kind of found mods that I like, that I think of, put the balance to where I feel is fine. And really, I'm okay with most of the things in the community patch. And most of them you could turn off if you disagree with some of them. It's just like a little option tick box. You just check it off and you say, yes, I agree with, you know, it's like they're all on by default. And you go through and you say, like, buff the evil smasher, and you say, oh, the evil smasher's broken, I don't agree with that. Well, you just uncheck it and it won't buff your evil smasher. So there's really nothing in the community patch that I would totally disagree with. I don't think there's anything in the community patch I don't like. I think you can replace a couple of guns. Some of them I didn't like a lot of, if the gun was useless and I never used it and there was an option to replace it, I will replace it. But, like, I think it replaced the cradle. Like, who uses the cradle? The cradle is a terrible shield. Well, in the pre-sequel, they got the Naught, and it's an awesome shield. So, there's an option in there to replace the cradle with the Naught. So, if I get a world drop cradle, it will not be a cradle, it will be a Naught. So, in my game, the cradle doesn't exist. So, again, you know, and it's no big loss, because if it world dropped on me, I'd be like, oh, that is taking up the place of an actual good shield that could have dropped in its place. But now if a cradle drops, I get a Naught, which is a terribly awesome shield. So, the pot of gold, I've probably only seen, I think I've only seen 2 drop in my game, because, you know, people complain about bosses not respawning on the pre-sequel, but don't think Borderlands was it in fault of that also. Borderlands, the leprechaun who drops it, he doesn't respawn, so if you don't get the pot of gold on the first try, you have to go through another playthrough to get him. You can't farm him. Now, the community patch, I think, has made him farmable, where he respawns now. They made a lot of enemies respawnable that weren't respawnable, and you wouldn't believe how many there actually were. So I think because most of them are respawnable, people, when they didn't have well, the pre-sequel is really, really guilty of not having. There's just too many that weren't.
Silence!
That it was actually a bad thing. It was like, look, y'all went way overboard with this non-respawnable. Because I don't think you can't. I don't think you could farm Slappy. I don't think you could farm the Leprechaun. I don't. Now they did put him in. They did put him in. I think in Moxie's Wedding Day Massacre. He's in there. But you got to do all kinds of crazy stuff to make him spawn, and then he runs like a banshee, like he's really fast. He's hard to hit. I think you have to kill him with a melee or something. I don't know what you got to do to kill him, but he just hauls butt, and it's really hard. Like especially when you're at the higher levels, to kill him. You have to do a lot of damage to him really quick to get him to kill, and then I think he could drop the pot of gold, but the pot of gold's not a good shield. So the community patch replaced the pot of gold. You could replace it with the big thumper. That was I think I don't know if it's in the pre-sequel or not. I'm one of those people that played the pre-sequel because of the story, and then after that got completely. Once I found out you can't. Most of the bosses don't respawn, and there's no designated loot pools and all that stuff. I was like, there's no reason for me to play this. You're literally just farming vendors and farming thingies so you can use the grinder to try to get some of these legendaries. And I didn't find that fun at all. So I'm one of those people that the pre-sequel's not horrible. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I should have. Mostly because there's no siren in it. I don't think Athena was a viable melee character. All her melee skills were too weak. And then the shield that made her melee usable made any character able to play melee. And I thought that was kind of dumb. I couldn't play Athena. I thought Athena was probably the best character. I felt Wilhelm was a little, like, always behind on his healing, and Wolf's damage was always just a little bit behind the levels. And I found Wilhelm felt him a little bit weak, always behind. And then Athena kind of was always behind, like her melee wasn't strong enough. I think they wanted you to like melee and let people bleed, and then you heal off that bleed, and then keep just moving from character to character, you know, enemy to enemy to enemy, kind of constantly applying bleed. But that really takes like a long time for them to bleed out, and you weren't receiving enough healing from it, and it was easier just to get a shooting star and just kill them. Or go into Maelstrom and just kill them with shock, you know, shock and fire. And so it was just better to like kill somebody and be over with it than like run from target to target to target. And then you open yourself up to a chance of being shot in the back. And I really just didn't find any of the characters I liked. And then when you get to Jack was a pretty cool character, but I thought he was just like a little bit overpowered. Like, I immediately found a build. You could do the badass Jacks to where you get badass Jacks and you could buff them really strong, and they just basically kill everything. Or you could do the thing where when you kill your own Drax, it triggers your kill skills, and then so each Jack spawns with less health. So basically you spawn out your jacks, and then they just constantly die and respawn, and then constantly trigger your kill skills, and then like you're overpowered as hell. And there was just too many ways to exploit Jack that I found. He was just like, he was balanced for the game. Like, I think he was pretty good for the game. He could be balanced for the game if you reduce some of his buffs, reduce them a little bit. He could have probably been the best balanced and let his in-game skills be strong for the in-game, and some of his early skills be a little bit weaker. But I found he was just overpowered through the whole thing. And then Aurelia, I don't know. I just didn't find... she's some kind of pseudo... I think because a lot of people like to play Maya with snipers, they said, well, we'll make a pseudo, because she's kind of got that frost shard, which is kind of like a... It just reuses kind of like Thought Lock, kind of. You throw it out there, it basically just uses the homing dart projectile animation, goes out, finds an enemy, and then kind of just like Thought Lock just hovers around the enemy, and then she's basically a pseudo siren sniper. I didn't really, I kind of got bored with her. So basically every character I got bored with, and never really played past the first playthrough.
Stay still.
Two deadly creatures cooperating to survive this harsh environment. Also, the mission looks like a backpack, but that's funny.
Oh, I enjoyed that.
Wonderful! That fracas was most helpful to my studies on Bullmont social structures.
I don't
Return
want
to the
that.
bounty board at your earliest convenience.
That's so terrible. That assault rifle might be pretty good. Let's see. I didn't really like the pre-sequel that much, but there's also mods for the pre-sequel, but I think that a lot of the mod creators are behind on that. They really don't have as good of mods, because I don't think the game is as good. I think the game kind of brings a lot of things to the table, but I think they were just all executed poorly. I think 2K Australia had good intentions in forwarding the franchise, but I don't think they understood the Borderlands player base. Like, we like to farm, we like to min-max, we like to, you know, build these overpowered builds. I think they just kind of missed the boat. I think they just didn't understand their player base. 66. I'd rather a doll than a... it's the reload. 40, 42. Didn't I get another? I don't want a three-way Hawk. I'd rather have this Bushwhack, which is not a great shotgun, but it is a shotgun. I should have a level 5 one of those. Is everything? Okay, let's get rid of everything level 3. That's probably why we want that dog assault rifle right there. I'm gonna pick that up and compare it. It's got a Hyperion barrel, so it probably is a little more stronger than what it would be normally, but it's probably, a Chinook never has the damage that a Muckamuck has. And that's a terrible stock. And then I don't really know what that foregrip does for it. It probably doesn't add damage. Is this grenade better than what I got? Yeah, bigger blast radius. The carbine does 20 damage. We can get rid of the shield. And that's another thing, like, your blues, you get blues more often, but you see how quickly I'm going through them? I'm literally using them for, like, you know, 10 or 15 minutes, and then I find something better. That's how Borderlands, that's the actual gameplay loop for Borderlands. If for some reason they just took it out, this whole first starting area, and then with 4 characters, 3 playthroughs, and then all the OP levels, if you decide to, like, instead of, you know, farming gear, you have to get to that, you know, you have to get to that boss at OP level. you almost have to play the game again, unless you just keep running the peak again and again and again until you have all the the gear to run it. It kind of forces people to not play the game and use Gib. And I played the game until I was pretty much played every character to, I think I have most of my characters at level 61, but not all of them I took to 75. I think I took Krieg and Maya to 72, and then I took Krieg into the OP levels, and I think I never got past OP4. It just gets too monotonous if you want to farm up actual gear, and so it kind of forces you to use Gib. And then I was like, well, once I started using Gib, I beat OP 1, let me Gib all my stuff up to OP level 1, OP level 2, OP level 3. I got to around OP level 4, and I was like, you know what? I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm just exiting out the game and save editing. That's all I'm really doing, and it kind of takes some of the game away. But going through an entire playthrough, and then to get a chance at a piece of gear, going through the Hammerlock DLC and going through all the parts just to get another Rough Rider, man, that starts getting a little monotonous. And and then I never really, finished past OP4, I think, with Krieg. So I find it's always fun just after you get past this part where the gear would there was no restrictions on the gear, and just finding loot, playing with what I find. And once you start using Gib, a lot of people don't play the game anymore. They just get into this loop of min-maxing where, let me try this grip, let me try this, the same guns, the same Pimpernel, the same Sandhawks, and then instead of going farm up a Sandhawk, a different variant of a Sandhawk, they go and just Gib in another version. They just copy the Sandhawk they had and say, let me put a different stock on it. Let me try a flying version instead of a damaged version to compare the two. And they just start min-maxing. They stop playing the game. And the thing I see about it, you're not playing the game, and then that's not what Borderlands is about. Borderlands is about using what you find, not having 100% the perfect everything, which is what, when you use Gib, you have. You have the best, not only do you have the best Sandhawk, the perfect Sandhawk, you have the perfect Sandhawk for you, for your build. And the way the game originally was with the poor drop rate, there was a reason the Sandhawk was one of the best guns. There's a reason the Kitten is one of the best guns. There's a reason that the Pimpernel is one of the best guns. All these guns that you could just quest farm. You just put your save on read only right before you go to turn in the mission, and you load in, go check to see what your quest reward is, go, I don't like it.
They told me to bring the tail,
Satisfying.
Exit to the menu,
we were going to bait.
go back in, turn in new quest, see what
Why are you?
and it wasn't killing bosses over and over, trying to get a Hide of Terror, oh my god, solo, that is I think in my lifetime, I got thousands of hours of this game, and I don't think I've seen but one drop in game legitimately. And if it did drop in game, I had my, my game open to, open party, and people were joining in, and they stole it, So to get one is not everybody you let in your game is respectful if you don't have a group of close friends that'll go, oh, look, a hide dropped, and let you even look at it first, They just gulp it right up. So I've only seen like one legitimate Hide of Terror drop. So if I wanted to do a build with a Hide of Terror, first of all I got to get to the max level, then I got to beat Terramorphous at that level with that character without that shield, and so for like to beat it at 0, I would probably have to do a gun build 0 just so I could beat Terra, and then farm him up to get so I can do me a melee build, and then I haven't played the game as a melee character to, you know, get that shield. And there's a lot of things I don't like about the game. I wish the game I hope they just open it up, put some chests in the beginning area, let you do that. Because playing with mods, being able to change some of this stuff, let the vending machines just have what the vending machines have, I think is pretty freaking cool. I'm probably gonna need a new pistol. This one's gonna get weak pretty soon.
Flint and I had a gentleman's agreement in the past.
And I'll probably shut this off after Boom Boom, because that's kind of this area. Then I'll let the next episode be a little shorter, maybe. Just up to Flint.
Here's what's gonna happen,
but mods basically are what you install, not you know 100% all overpowered guns and stuff like that. And like I said, if you want a specific overpowered gun, a lot of times what the mod author has to do to get, like, say a super overpowered sniper rifle, what they have to do is they have to take like the Godfinger's projectile. They have to add mix a Pimpernel projectile with a, you know, or like a Becca a Becca and a Pimpernel, or, you know, they have to take like 4 or 5 guns and merge them together, and then it messes up all those other guns too. So you have to read the mod description and say, okay, like, let's say it replaces the Pimpernel. You know, it replaces the Pimpernel. It's like, can you give up your Pimpernel? And then it also messes up, say, like, the Hellfire and, you know, the Logan's gun. Well, I could give up a Logan's gun. A Logan's gun's not that fantastic of a gun, but I don't want to give up a Hellfire. And I don't want to give up a Pimpernel, so that's not a, you know, even though that gun may be something I'm interested in, I'm not going to mess up my Hellfires and my, you know, and my Logan guns for that one gun. So me personally, what I do is I only replace guns that I would never use. Like, I'm looking for a replacement for the Landscaper, because the Landscaper is a terrible, awful shotgun.
With lives and families totally kidding. Screw those guys.
It's the only gun in the game that, here's where you want to shoot, you pull the trigger and the bullets go completely around. I mean, the Madhouse to some extent does that. When you shoot the ground, the bullets split and then the bullets go on both sides of the enemy. But there's no other gun in the game that the pellets go completely away from where you're aiming it. And so the Landscaper's a terrible gun. And if there's a good gun that I could put in its place that not too overpowered, because at that point of the, I think you get it from,
I'll tell you what, I'll give it some more thought.
I don't know, do you get it from the Clan Wars? I'm not sure. I forgot where you get it, but it's pretty much like after you go through Bloodshots and all that. I don't want no God tier weapon, you know, at that point in the game. But if there's something that replaces it that's not too overpowered and is usable, then I will replace that gun. And let me see. I think the community patch allows you to replace the cradle with the Naut. The tidal wave is a gun. The first time I did that mission, I didn't realize there was 2 mailboxes. I thought you just go to the closest mailbox and return it. Like it was just go to any mailbox and put it in the mail toward Luna Baja, and then you would get the choice between the shotgun or the pistol. And I just went to the closest mailbox, which was the Hyperion one, and then I was stuck with a tidal wave shotgun, and I was like, I remember using it going, this thing's a piece of junk. Okay, notice that there was white, kind of like pearlescent numbers coming off that guy, and that's a mod that once elemental guns start dropping, we'll get into it. There was a little preview. I hit that slag barrel, and that guy started throwing off pearlescent dot damage. Kind of similar to another game in the series, the pre-sequel, and we'll get into that mod once elemental start dropping. But normally, if I wouldn't have mods on, like the community patch unlocking this area and the vendor mod, I wouldn't be seeing all like elemental guns at all. I haven't found anything but a fire gun. So no. Okay, that's not electric. It looks electric. It looks like the skin makes it look like it's electric, but it's not electric. I think it's still elemental locked. I think you have to wait till you get the Hyperion adapter and fix the catcher rod, and you have a chance at a level 11 gun, which I think at level 11 the electrics start dropping, but they're just rare. And then but maybe in Sanctuary elemental will be available, and we'll have a chance at, and we could get into that mod, because I haven't played with that mod yet. This is the first time I played with it.
The diamond horse I've been telling you about, it's not a sculpture or anything. It's a living horse that actually happens to be made of... Well, actually, I'll go get it.
So, this is a level 2 gun, and it is a little bit overpowered, but that's because a Raquel is just a damn good gun, not because, you know, Gearbox designed this area not to have Raquels in it. After Raquels start dropping, if I find a white Raquel at level 15, it's still going to be wrecking face.
Whenever you're ready, buddy.
What do I want for him? I'm probably going to want an assault rifle. One thing about assault rifles too.
Light the fuses, bitches!
Assault rifles pretty much in the game kind of suck.
Ready to blow!
You know, they don't suck, but a lot of people, your average person is going to say they suck. Because the difference between an assault rifle what's the difference between an assault rifle and an SMG? They basically both do the same damage. They basically both have about the same accuracy. They both basically, I think SMGs reload just a little bit quicker than your average assault rifle, but there's no real difference between them. The difference with assault rifles, in my opinion, SMG should have did lower damage, and assault rifle should have had higher damage. And then they could have reduced the criticals on assault rifle, but what they did is they basically reduced the criticals on assault rifle so far that it almost wasn't even worth getting criticals with an assault rifle. And so assault with SMGs being available to crit at full damage and pretty much being the same thing, they probably should have just buffed assault rifle damage to make it, if you can't crit with it and get that extra damage, You should have just made the body shots do twice as much damage, you know? If criticals are 3 times, I don't remember what criticals are, if they're 2-time damage, 3-time damage, 4 times damage. But, you know, maybe put criticals, you know, body shots kind of somewhere close to what a critical damage is. Like, maybe like halfway, kind of meet me halfway a little bit. With the criticals on, with assault rifles. But what they did is they basically just said, no, it's the same, but assault rifles just have a crit penalty that's so god-awful bad that it basically makes your average players just going to be like, wow, these assault rifles don't do any damage. Wow, even a bandit SMG is better than, you know, most assault rifles. Jacob's assault rifles are pretty good damage-wise, and they have the best crit out of all assault rifles, but then a lot of people don't like the semi-automatic nature of them and get turned off by it, and then just don't ever give assault rifles a chance.
So don't do that. I'm just standing here to show you the area you should shoot after I move away.
Bandits and Vladovs.
Once I'm totally convinced you understand the instructions, then I relate.
Don't really have enough damage, and this area of the game, you can't support not being able to crit with your assault rifle. See, I'm all the way down to 100 ammo in this assault rifle. You can't do combat very long with this thing, and there's really no ammo around here, so if I go down and I run out of ammo, I'm screwed, you know? These guys are really... Let my shield get caught back up. I don't really need to... I didn't really need to go for the sweet release. I just need to keep these guys thin and away from the cannon. I think what Gearbox did with the assault rifles was just raw.
That calmed him down.
Assault rifles in Borderlands 1 is awesome, and then you come to Borderlands 2 and they're just not quite as good. This thing is also going to go through ammo like a fool. Another thing in Borderlands, I would say 1 did better. Instead of having Crazy Earl have all the SDUs, they had vending machines had SDU. Look, there's an SMG. That wouldn't normally drop.
For you.
The community patch kind of took. They didn't buff assault rifles. They basically just took the penalty that assault rifles have, making them worse than SMGs in general, away. So assault rifles become a lot more usable in the game now, and I think that's a good thing, because there was a few assault rifles like the Kitten. And the Kitten's not really that great of an assault rifle. It's just the fact that it's a Moxie.
I might have tried to stage a mutiny on Captain Flint's ship before the flash freeze, which explains why his men are currently beating the crap out of me.
It's
right,
elemental.
Guys?
So like Hellfire Creek could use the crap out of it and keep himself, like, do massive amount of fire damage and then keep himself healed without having to rely on like a grog nozzle. The Hail is just an awesome assault rifle, but it's kind of hidden behind a weird fire pattern that kind of turns a lot of people off. But you get a level 20 Hail, man. That thing's still viable at like bunker. I've got corrosive Hails before, and they give them to you at level 20, and you're usually not level 20 when you get it. But I've kept that thing all the way to like level, I think, 25, 26, where you're fighting the bunker. And I've taken bunker down with a Hail. It just melts him. It's a probably the best assault rifle in the game. Probably because, like, I don't remember. I'm not really good with all the critical numbers and all that stuff. But I think, you know, you say assault rifles have a 50% critical penalty, and then it's the type of penalty where it's in the equation where it makes it almost to where it's almost zero.
So, Claptrap's got a new friend, huh?
There's no point critting with them. Well, the hail has, I think, a 70% critical modifier on it, so it kind of undoes some of the penalty and makes it an awesome-ass assault rifle. So, if you just took a normal Vladoff without that weird firing pattern and made it like the hail, I mean, of course the hail's red tech, so it's, you know, it heals you plus, it has high critical plus, it has a unique fire pattern where the pellets split and you get unlisted pellets, which works with the B and all that stuff. It's a good assault rifle for many reasons, but if you learn to use the hail, you notice how bad all the other assault rifles are. Like I said, with a few exceptions of the Kitten, all the Jacobs Gatling guns. There's a few assault rifles that are pretty good and was considered good. What was that? Did I find me a blue? Oh, it was another blue TDO, not as good as what I got. Okay. I thought it was a blue turtle. I was like, whoa, that's not supposed to drop yet. So, Maya is an SMG character. Well, that's what everybody says, because she has the cat mod. But by that very definition, oh, she has the cat mod, therefore she's good with SMGs. I call bull on that because Axton has an SMG mod, class mod. His Hyperion mod is SMG accuracy or something. SMG, like, does that make Axton up? You know? And then Salvador has an assault rifle comm, and Gage has a assault rifle comm. Does that make them assault rifle characters? No, it doesn't. You can use SMGs on Gage. You don't have to use that comm. You can use a binder or a matriarch or a blurred trickster and use assault rifles. And like I said, nobody did it because
Asking if anyone's seen my Claptrap unit.
the best fire rate. Oh, and then Zero has sniper and pistol comms. And you know, the best, you know, you put an anarchist on Zero and he becomes stupid deadly with his stalker class mod, or what is it, I think the sheriff's badge, or he becomes stupidly powerful with pistols. And but that doesn't make Zero a pistol character. It makes him good with pistols. But you see I'm using an assault rifle with Maya now because what made assault rifles bad has been fixed in the community patch. And if it, for anything else, I would use a community patch just for that, because I never used assault rifles. I started using them because of Krieg. He really likes the hail and the kitten. And then other YouTubers have turned me on to Jacobs assault rifles, and kind of now I love them more. And with their crits being removed, a Jacobs assault rifle becomes even more potent because it has the highest crit in the game already. But it just still was pretty pathetic compared to like SMGs. So if like Jacobs made an SMG, it would like outclass the assault rifles. Even though it'd be semi-automatic and be kind of stupid, it still would outclass the assault rifles. because of the crit modifier is being nerfed basically. And I don't know why Gearbox did that. If you're gonna nerf the critical, you gotta boost the base damage a lot, like enough to make up for the critical. What are you doing, fool? You see, I'm critting with these assault rifles. It is doing damage. Like, these assault rifles are doing damage.
Stay focused.
Like, I'm getting 66 on body shots. Let me see if I can get a critical. Like, it's just blowing them up. Like, I'm kind of thinking maybe that's why they nerfed it, because they you know, Gearbox has a habit of overbalancing and everything. Like, oh, we can't let you be too powerful. Can't let you have fun. We gotta like let you build up to it. But in my opinion, if you go back and look at what they did to the game, they balanced the game. They made the game. They balanced the game for level 50. And basically, at level 50, all you did is try to farm up more perfect versions of the guns you've already used, and then you tried to min-max your skill tree. So you basically pretty much were overpowered, and I think they just wanted to, like, they over-nerfed everything so you didn't get there too fast, and tried to extend it to a playthrough. But if you go back and look at history, it's like, oh, well, then they added all these DLCs, and then you were like over level too early. You know, you were too high of a level too soon. That's not going to do any good against Flint, so we'll get rid of it. I never put my better grenade mod on. Not that I've been using grenades. And I think Gearbox is kind of guilty of that across the board. They nerf too many things. They make like weapon, like mission rewards early in the game that should be good. Like the landscaper, terrible. The original Lady Fist had a 400% critical versus like the Tidal Wave, which is not even really that great of a Jacobs coach gun. It's like what makes a Jacobs coach gun is good is that it can critical, and it had the best accuracy and damage and ammo efficiency out of all the Jacobs shotguns. And so you could, the accuracy lets you crit, and then the damage lets you just decimate your opponent. And then they took that away for a gimmick, a wavy gimmicky firing patterns. So I got the Tidal Wave as my, you know, the first time I did that mission, first playthrough, and a lot of other people got it too. They chose the shotgun because they see a high period pistol and they're like, ah, that's crap. Like, because, whoa, I gotta like peace out a little bit. You know, Gearbox said, okay, if we're gonna get this thing a 400% critical, we've got to nerf the damage on it to where if you don't get a critical, it does almost nothing. And then if you do get a critical, it just like blows people up, right? Well, that's a good gimmick for that gun. That's good. You know, you got this stupidly massive critical damage. But if you don't hit a critical, it does almost nothing. Now, being a Hyperion gun, the Lady Fist has an incredibly quick center time where it gets to max accuracy almost instantly. And so then you got almost like your entire mag. You waste 1 or 2 bullets getting to center, but then you just decimate your opponent with the enemy with criticals. And I think that's a good gimmick for that gun. But then what they did to the Tidal Wave is they took what makes a Jacobs coach gun good and threw it away. So that was always a no-brainer. I'd always go get a Lady Fist. And then Gearbox decided to buff the Lady Fist and make it 800% critical. And I don't think they touched the damage. They might have brought it down a tick, but it just made that gun that much more awesome. And then the Tidal Wave is still the same piece of crap it always was.
I know, guys, but that makes me feel...
I forgot how muckamucks kick, and you gotta let them. So even though you got a fast fire rate, you still gotta kind of let them come back a little bit. So, like, that was a no-brainer. If you did that mission, a Lady Fist versus a tidal wave, man, screw that tidal wave. That thing's useless. Because if it was a blue coach gun at that point in the game and you didn't have a good blue coach gun, like, do a coach gun and put a red text on it. Make it a little bit better than an average, or put some kind of gimmick, like, you know, they like to do a lot of lower base damage but higher critical. They could have did that with it and made it just a normal gun, but they made it a piece of crap. And so when they buffed the Lady Fist, they made it even more a piece of crap compared to what you could get. And the community patch lets you replace it with the flail. And the flare basically, I think, is like an 8 or 9 shot coach gun with improved stats over. It's a legendary in the pre-sequel, but it's a blue. I think just because of restrictions, you know, a legendary versus a blue, they just left it as a blue. I don't know if they nerfed the damage a little bit to make it like just a red text blue and kind of make it like a blue version of a flare. Or they just kept the stats. And then kind of comparing, since Borderlands and the pre-sequel had different scaling, it's kind of hard to tell, like, is it a one-to-one comparison, like how powerful, with different skill trees and different everything else. It's kind of hard to tell what the scaling, you know, what you would, you know, I don't know if you can just copy and paste numbers and then it's just automatically balanced.
I can't climb stairs. Let's find another way up.
I think either one or two things would happen.
Find the controls.
The gun would either be underpowered because I don't know how that would work. Pre-sequel has softer scaling, so with the guns, I think the guns would be weaker. I don't know if the guns would be weaker or more powerful. I have to think about that a minute. But anyway, the flare is a good gun in the pre-sequel. I never had one in the pre-sequel because I kind of got really bored with the pre-sequel.